Hey, Georgia Democrats. Hey, y'all. Y'all, I am Nikema Williams. I am a state senator here in Georgia. I am the chairwoman of the Democratic Party of Georgia and your Democratic nominee for Georgia's 5th Congressional District. I'm so proud to stand up here in front of y'all today because tomorrow we're going to prove to the world what Georgia Democrats have known all along. We are a battleground state. When I look out over this crowd and see all of the faces, all of the people who've been doing the work for years in the trenches, I know that Georgians are ready to change our future. I feel the joy, the determination, and a deep sense of purpose that is fueling our movement. I also think of my hero, y'all. I think of Congressman John Lewis, whose legacy we're fighting to protect. But we also know that elections are about the future. And I think about my son, Carter, whose future we're literally fighting to build. My baby is just 5 years old, and after 3 months of virtual kindergarten, after years of racism and failed leadership from our embarrassing president, Carter knows the stakes of this election. It's his future. It's all other children's future. It's our future, y'all, and we have to vote for them. He can't quite remember what it's like to have a president that he could be proud of, but we can. We know what that feeling was, and we're ready to have real leadership again in a president. At this moment in our history, we must take up the mantle of Congressman John Lewis and the rest of our ancestors, and y'all, we've got to fight like never before to make sure that our babies don't have to fight the same fights that we're fighting. Because I know that together, when we show up and vote, when we can change the trajectory of our country. Are y'all ready to make some good trouble on Tuesday, y'all? Are you ready to do this in honor of Congressman John Lewis? I know you're ready, y'all, because I've seen the early voting numbers. I've seen the turnout. Nearly 4 million Georgians have already voted. But y'all, that's not enough. We gotta keep going. We've made hundreds and thousands of phone calls. We've hustled to get our neighbors, our friends, and even some of our exes out to vote. But that's still not enough. We gotta keep going, y'all. We're not done. We have 24 hours. In the next 24 hours, we have to remember what is at stake, what is on the ballot. Our children's future is on the ballot. Our health care is on the ballot. Our right to vote is literally on the ballot, and we have to vote like it matters. We can't let up until we've heard every voice, until we've counted every vote. So no matter what anybody tells you on Tuesday night, we're gonna be still counting, y'all. We're gonna keep going because we know that every vote and every voice matters. And we're not gonna let anything, including a Republican president, get in our way. Together, we're not just gonna flip this state blue. Y'all, we're gonna fight for fair redistricting. We're gonna fight to make sure that we have a majority in the Georgia House of Representatives. We're gonna fight to make sure that we send not one but 2 Democrats to the United States Senate. And I can't wait to elect my friend, John Ossoff, and my friend, Reverend Raphael Warnock, to the United States Senate. Because when they get to Washington, y'all, we're gonna have senators that actually fight for Georgians and not looking out to line their own pockets. We need real leadership in Washington. And y'all, that's not all. We're gonna deliver 16 electoral college votes to make Joe Biden and my soror, Kamala Harris, the next president and vice president of the United States. But y'all, you have to vote like our democracy depends on it, because it literally does. Georgia Democrats, I know that you're ready to fight out loud and on purpose for the promise of America. So let's keep working and let's get it done, y'all. Thank you.
Last night Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Emily Carrillo.
Good afternoon, Georgia. My name is Emily Carrillo, and I'm a junior political science student at Georgia State here in Atlanta. I'm the daughter of Mexican immigrants, a first-generation student, and I am beyond excited to have early voted for Jon Ossoff, Reverend Warnock, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and other Georgia Democrats up and down the ballot. We all know what's at stake in this election as our nation is convening at multiple crises at the same time. We are going through a public health crisis, an economic crisis, crisis of racial injustice and intolerance, and a climate crisis. Now more than ever, we need a president and administration, a government that will be of and by and for the people. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will create that country. Joe and Kamala can bind up our nation's wounds, but they cannot do it alone. They will need Reverend Raphael Warnock, Jon Ossoff, Carolyn Bourdeaux, Lucy McBath, and other fantastic Democrats to do the work hard to make our nation a little more perfect. Georgia, we can do that for them because Georgia, in addition to sending Joe and Kamala to the White House, we will flip the United States Senate and maintain our House majority. Georgia, our time is now. One day out from the most important election in history. Right now, we have the opportunity to take our country back and build back better. I believe we will win because America is much better today, and tomorrow we will show this. Vámonos, si se puede. Let's go win this thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Carolyn Bourdeaux.
Well, good afternoon, Georgia. Are you ready to vote? Are you ready for some change? All right. I'm Carolyn Bourdeaux, and I am the next Congresswoman from Georgia's 7th Congressional District. We want to welcome Barack Obama to the battleground of Georgia, where we are fighting for the soul of the country. And I know I speak for many in the 7th Congressional District when I say we are working not only to flip Georgia's 7th District, but also to deliver Georgia for Jon Ossoff, Raphael Warnock, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris. My husband and I live in Suwanee with our 8-year-old son, and I care deeply about his future and the future of all of our children. I am the daughter of teachers who believed that public education was essential for social justice, was the platform for upward mobility, and essential to the achievement of the American dream, and I have carried that with me as well. But the turning point of my life was when I was in college. My family went bankrupt, and we lost everything, including our house. And there was some question about whether I'd be able to continue in school. But I went on a Pell Grant and a Perkins loan and a Stafford loan, and people in the community chipped in to help me make it. And of course, I worked very hard. And when I graduated, the student loan officer sat me down and said, "Young lady, you have a lot of debt. You need to get a job right away. So I have a special place in my heart for young people who struggle with that. But my father sat me down and said, Carolyn, I don't want you to forget that this country invested in you. It gave you a world-class education. And with that comes a duty and a responsibility to give it back. And that has formed the core of my commitment to public service. I have worked for members of Congress, for U.S. senators. I was director of Georgia's Senate Budget and Evaluation Office during the Great Recession. I founded the Center for State and Local Finance. And today I teach at the Andrew Young School of Policy Studies at Georgia State to bring along the next generation of young people going into public service. I got into this race for several reasons. The first was health care and the recognition that every man, woman, and child deserves quality, affordable health care. In the 7th District, we have 120,000 or more people in the district without health insurance. And those of us who are lucky enough to have health insurance often pay extortionary rates for it and for prescription medications. My own parents struggled with this issue. My father suffered from a debilitating illness for 10 years, and my mother took care of him. And all of their discretionary income was eaten up paying for his prescription medications. I also got into this race because I woke up on November 9th of 2016 and found out that Donald Trump had been elected President of the United States. And I know there are many of you here. We sat down together, friends, neighbors, and family, and we said, we are not going down this way. We believe in a country that is diverse, inclusive, global in its outlooks and aspiration, not racist, sexist, and anti-immigrant. We believe in a country where we recognize the cultural and economic strength brought by our immigrant communities and the moral authority of the Black community in its calls for justice. We believe in a country where we care about one another, about health care. We believe we need to invest in world-class education, in infrastructure, so that our children have opportunity and we unlock the door to the American dream. We believe in a country grounded in freedom and justice, and where the response to Black Lives Matters is to advance policy to address racism, not call on white militias to patrol the streets of our cities. We believe in a country where our government, who is run by people who are competent and ethical, grounded in science and reason, so that we can tackle the pandemic that is ravaging our country, get our children back to school and our economy back on its feet. Back in July of 2017, we stood up the race for Georgia's 7th District. We took on a 4-term Republican incumbent who'd never gotten less than 60% of the vote. If you looked at a map of Georgia, this district was solid red. But we recognized something. These political maps were not crafted by the hand of God. They are made by us, citizens. We are the map makers, and we set out to change that map. So, we organized, and we registered voters, and we knocked the doors, and we made the phone calls, and we raised the money, and we went to the churches and the mosques and the synagogues and the temples, the Rotary clubs, the Kiwanis clubs, the social organizations, the sororities and the fraternities. And with an enormous effort, we closed a 20 percentage point gap and came within 433 votes of flipping the 7th District, the closest race in the country. We only got there after weeks and weeks of litigation because this was ground zero for voter suppression. And we had some victories, but we know that there is more to be done. After this, my opponent perhaps saw the writing on the wall and decided to retire. And this is now an open seat. I got back into this race because we do not give up and we do not back down. And again, we registered the voters, we knocked the doors, we made the phone calls, we reached out to the community. And then on the primary on June 9th, something important happened. over 85,000 people voted in the Democratic primary, up from 30,000 in 2018, and over 50% had never voted in a Democratic primary before. We realize we have over 150,000 new registered voters in this district. And now we turn our eyes to tomorrow, November 3rd, the most consequential election of our lifetimes. We have been working on this moment for 4 long years, and it is time for Georgia to rise up. It is time, one more time, to make the phone calls, knock the doors, check in on your friends, turn out the vote. And with this effort, and with God's grace, we are going to finish the job in Georgia's 7th district, and we are going to turn Georgia itself blue. Thank you for being here.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Congresswoman Lucy McBath.
Good afternoon, Georgia! Good afternoon. Are you ready? Are you fired up? Are you ready to go? Fired up. Ready to go. All righty. I am Lucy McBath, and I'm the Congresswoman for Georgia's 6th Congressional District. And I'm so honored to be here today to help welcome President Barack Obama back to the peach state of Georgia. Georgia is the most important election of our lifetime tomorrow. In just a few hours, we will flip this state blue. This election is between those who seek to divide and those who wish to unite. We need leaders who will fight for a future where love and compassion drive out hate and violence. A future we can all believe in. A future that we will all live peacefully in. As President Obama is known for saying, and I quote, "We must be the change that we seek." And tomorrow on Election Day, Georgia is going to be that change. When I ran for office in 2018, much of the country had written off my campaign, and I never dreamed of running for Congress. And like most Americans, I wanted to start a family and raise a loving and a compassionate child. Then 8 years ago, and most of you know my story, but I will never, ever forget my story. My son Jordan was sitting in the back seat of a friend's car as they simply stopped at a gas station to get some chewing gum. Because my son Jordan said, "Hey guys, if we're going to the mall and we're going to pick up girls, we got to have fresh breath." But in a matter of minutes, a man pulled up next to them. He complained about the music that they were playing, and he called them thugs and gangbangers. And he told them to turn down that thug music. And he shot 10 rounds into the car and simply drove away, hitting my son Jordan 3 times, and yes, killing my only son. And you see, Jordan was only 17 years old, just 17. And as I put the pieces of my life back together, I began speaking out. Because I just watched Trayvon Martin 9 months before die the same way that I lost my own son. and after the tragedy in Parkland, Florida, I was furious and I was angry because I wanted to know why was no one standing up for our children? Why was no one standing up to keep us safe? So I stood up and I ran for office myself, taking on the NRA-backed incumbent in a seat which had not been blue since 1979. I hold the seat that was once held by Newt Gingrich, and I'm the first minority in the history of Georgia to ever hold this seat. And I'm standing up to fight for our families, to fight for you, because yes, every single one of you deserves better. And when I ran for office, the pundits thought that my seat could never be won by a regular mom like me. But those who know me know that nothing is more powerful than a mom on a mission. As we are all here today on a mission. And just as President Obama says, I became the change that I was seeking. We are the change that we are seeking. So my team, we got to work. Just like every one of you here, we got to work. We called, we texted, and we knocked on doors. Most importantly, we voted. Because of the work of tireless, dedicated volunteers like yourselves, we flipped my seat, and we will flip every seat on this slate. We will flip them all because it truly matters. What you do now truly matters for our futures, and it matters for a lifetime. And that's exactly what we're going to do this November for Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. We're going to win from the top of the ticket to the very bottom. We're going to elect John Ossoff. We're going to elect Carolyn Bordeaux. We're going to elect Reverend Warnock. Because make no mistake about it, everything is on this ballot. Access to affordable health care, that is on the ballot. The right for a woman to choose what's best for her body is on the ballot. And yes, gun safety is on the ballot. So this afternoon, all of my fellow Georgians, it's time to vote for compassionate leaders who understand the sacrifices that hardworking families have made at their kitchen tables every single day, and especially during this pandemic. And it is our time to elect, for the first time in our nation's history, a black woman as Vice President of the United States of America. This year, in this historic election, may we honor the legacy of those shoulders of the individuals that we stand on that worked so hard to get us to this moment. Legacies like that of our friend in the late John Lewis, whose service and sacrifice opened the doors of opportunity for Americans of every color and every creed. And may we remember his words as we fight for the soul of this nation, that, and I quote, we have a moral obligation, a mission, and a mandate to do what we can to make our country and our world a better place, and to help usher in a loving community, as John would say, the beloved community, where no one is left out or no one is left behind. Our strength as a nation has always been our ability to come together to address our greatest challenges like those of this moment. And that is the opportunity that we have at this moment. That is our opportunity tomorrow. And that opportunity will have implications for decades to come. And when we look back at this election in the years to come. I pray that we all take pride in our response to the challenges that we now face today, and most specifically tomorrow, that we elected Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as the next president and vice president of these United States. Yes, Georgia, we will do this. We will elect them because it truly matters, not only for Georgia, but for all of America. Are you fired up? Are you ready to go? Are you fired up? Are you ready to go? Go vote, and God bless you.
I be feeling like the man when I walk through. I ain't stunning what you're saying when I walk through. I got all these staring when I walk through. I done made a few bands on the wall.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rick Hart.
Hello, Georgia. My name is Rick Hart, and I'm a junior political science major, sociology minor at Morehouse College right here in Atlanta. I hold the honor and privilege of serving as the co-chair of Georgia Young Leaders for Biden and as HBCU Outreach Director of College Democrats of America. Brothers and sisters, these last 4 years have been trying, tumultuous, and turbulent. We have seen in the most wicked of ways that elections have consequences. We have an administration who, in their collective recklessness and ineptitude, has brought this nation to its knees. Today, over 230,000 Americans have perished due to COVID-19. Our Justice Department is more concerned about defending the president in court than it is about protecting the rights of Americans to vote. This president, Mike Pence, David Perdue, Mitch McConnell, Kelly Loeffler are actively working to strip health care away from millions of Georgians in the midst of a pandemic. But one day out from the most consequential election of our lifetimes, the world is looking at us, Georgia. Georgia, we will write the story. We will elect Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Reverend Raphael Warnock, and John Ossoff tomorrow. We will elect hope over fear. We will elect science over fiction, unity over division, truth over lies. We will be the state that breaks Donald Trump's path to re-election. Georgia, together we will change the trajectory of this nation. Georgia has always been on the forefront of societal change in America. From John Lewis to Hosea Williams to Martin Luther King Jr. to Coretta Scott King, this moment is no different. This moment calls for the best of us to stand up, to fight back, and most importantly, to vote. So tomorrow, Georgia, I am asking you to vote like you have never voted before, to fight like you have never fought before, to turn out like you have never turned out before, because too much is on the line to stay home. Get ready, Georgia, because as our next vice president states, tomorrow will show that we are not defined by what has been, but we are defined by what will be. So let's do this, Georgia. Let's win the whole damn thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Stacey Abrams.
Hello, Georgia! Hello, hello! Hello! Look, I don't know if you guys heard, but tomorrow we're making history. But I want to begin by reminding us of how we got here. We know that 10 years ago, they wrote off the state of Georgia. It was a dark day. We lost some races. We lost some seats. But that just gave us time to plan. And since that time, we have been growing and growing and growing, and now we're grown. We are now ready to be the blue state we were meant to be. We are ready to win elections up and down the ballot and show America that Georgia is back and we're ready to go. But we've got to remember, as much as we are fighting against COVID-19, we can't forget that just a few miles away from here, police brutality raised its head. And that down on the coast, Ahmaud Arbery went without justice for 74 days. That we have been protesting in the streets because we needed to diagnose the ills that still consume our country. But the reality is, protesting is important, but it is the diagnosis. Voting is the medicine. Voting is how we start to treat our ills. Because you got to remember, voting isn't magic. And we got to stop saying it like it is. We've got to remind folks that voting is like taking that pill you don't want to take, taking that walk you know your doctor told you to take. That we've got to treat our ills, not just diagnose them. And we do that at the ballot box. And we're going to do it this year in Georgia. Because we've got to treat the ill of systemic inequality and systematic racism. We've got to treat the ill of a climate change that is creating new disasters every day and poisoning our people. We've got to treat the ills of reproductive injustice that tell women that their bodies are not their own. We've got to treat the ills of gun violence and make certain that children don't have to worry when they're finally able to go back to school. We've got to do the work of treating these diseases. And we won't even talk about the Trumpus cancerous. But we know that voting is not enough. Because for so many of us, voting has been a little hard to do. I don't know if you guys were watching in 2018 when they tried to shut us down and shut us up and push us out. But we came back and brought 800,000 new friends with us to the voting booth. But guys, we got to remember, what we have is opportunity. We've got opportunity to change this state, to change the narrative, to change the future. But opportunity is not the same as action. And so over the next 24 hours, I'm calling you to action. I need your help to elect local leaders who see our problems and make certain that across the state of Georgia, we elect DAs and judges and local leaders who believe in our people. I need your help because we've got to take new seats in the Georgia Senate and we've got to flip the Georgia House. So we've got representatives who draw lines of fairness, not lines of finesse, not lines that decide to fix our future. Because we're done with fixing elections. We're going to make them win elections because we're going to have fair maps in the state of Georgia. And we've had great leadership from Hank Johnson and David Scott and Sanford Bishop. But we're sending a trio of women to D.C. that will change our lives. We're going to send Lucy McBath back from the 6th. We're going to send Nikema Williams for the 5th. And we're going to finish the job and send Carolyn de Bordeaux from the 7th. And they're going to stand up for a woman's right to choose, but they're also going to stand up for democracy for all because that's what we deserve. But guys, we also have a little bit of trouble in the Senate. And you know, we're from the South, so we try to do a little extra. That's why we're not sending them one U.S. Senator, we're sending them 2. We're sending John Ossoff, a
warrior against corruption. And we are sending Raphael Warnock, a warrior for justice. And we won't let cowards turn us back, and we won't let lies shut us down. We are sending 2 U.S. senators to turn the heat up and get things done. But Georgia, we got one more job to do. A job we haven't been as good at since 1996, but I think we've been practicing. Because we're about to send 16 electoral college votes to pick up Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and deliver them into the White House. Because we need Joe Biden. We need a president who believes that you don't hide from your responsibility, you meet your responsibilities. That you don't lie about the future, you make the future happen. A Joe Biden who will admit that he's made mistakes, but promises to make good every single day because he believes in America. He believes in Georgia. And we need someone who believes in us. And so, Georgia, I'm here to ask a favor. Over the next few hours, until the polls close on Tuesday night, I need you to do 2 things. Number 1, don't panic. Say, don't panic. They're about to turn up the mess. We know that intimidation is on their ballot. We know that suppression is their only weapon. But we know who we are and whose we are, and we are Georgia, and we will win. So we're not going to let them scare us out of line. We're not going to let them defeat us and trick us. We're going to drop off our absentee ballots in those boxes in those counties. We're going to call our friends. We're going to harass our neighbors. We're going to call people we owe money, people who owe us money, people we're mad at, people we broke up with. But we are calling every Georgia Democrat, and we're calling them to action. Because the time is now, men. The time is now, Georgia. We are going to get in line. We're not going to panic. So say it again. Say, don't panic. And secondly, we need to don't leave. Don't leave. The lines are going to be long tomorrow because there's a lot of pent-up interest. There are a lot of us who've been waiting to end our national nightmare. But there are even more of us who've been waiting to be seen, to be heard. Folks who are watching evictions come ever closer, who are counting bodies and counting illness, who worry that because we live in a state that refuses to expand Medicaid, that if they can take away the ACA, all is lost. But we're better than that, Georgia. We're stronger than that. And we know when we get in line, we don't leave. Say, don't leave. We will not leave those lines until our ballots are cast. If you were in line at 7 p.m., you don't leave until your ballot is in the box. And if you know someone, tell them to call 866-OUR-VOTE. Because we've got lawyers lined up to keep them in line. And we've got protections built in. Because I've had a couple of years off. I applied for a job and didn't get it, so I've had some time to work. And we're going to have a fair fight here in Georgia. And if it's a fair fight, we are going to win. Because the future is now. Georgia is blue. And our time is now. So, Georgia, let's get it done. Thank you.
Yeah.
We the best music.
I worked my whole life for this one. Another one.
DJ
Shining, 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 yeah. All of this winning, I've been losing my mind. Oh, hold on, don't try to slow me down. Hold on, don't try to slow me down. And now to make a fool for it. You gon' need a natural when I lose the boy.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms.
As I was preparing my remarks for today, I was reminded of the poem Black Genius, so eloquently penned by Sonia Sanchez, who wrote, This is not a small voice you hear. This is a large voice coming out of these cities. This is the voice of Latanya, Kadisha, Shanika. This is the voice of Anton, Daryl, Shaquille. Too often, the small voice we hear is the one that we allow to whisper to ourselves, do I even matter? When I dared to make the choice to become the mayor of Atlanta, I had to reckon with that question, and so many nagging others. Because you see, I wore the shame of my father's incarceration on my chest to guard me from the disappointment I had come to expect from life itself. I didn't come from a family of formally educated people, but their education was from the cotton fields of Mississippi and Georgia, the housing projects of Chicago, and the streets of the west side of Atlanta. My mother stood for 16 hours a day doing hair in her salon in the West End. My grandfather went through back doors and hauled trash from papers and hotels and buildings in downtown, what he called uptown. Who was I to think that I could make a difference? But I reminded myself that one man's garbage was my grandfather's gold, and that my mother stood so that I could have a seat at the table. And then I was reminded that we have a voice, and it is our vote. Just a few blocks from here looms an 8-story concrete steel building whose history will soon be eclipsed by its future when this center of mass incarceration becomes a center of equity and hope. Our jail has had a declining number of nonviolent inmates due in large part to our eliminating cash bail bonds in Atlanta, followed by my signing an executive order to stop accepting ICE detainees during the family separation crisis at the border. We are saying to our often forgot communities that you matter. And as a city, we will do all in our power to make sure that poverty is not a death sentence and a petty mistake does not define the rest of your life. Each election cycle, we stress the same mantra: every vote matters. Well, I stand here as the 60th mayor of Atlanta as a testament to that reality. In a runoff election just 3 years ago with nearly 100,000 votes cast, we won by a slim margin of 832 votes. But every vote matters for reasons that resonate well beyond election day victory. The choice we made that election day allowed me to appoint our first full-time position as an LGBTQ affairs coordinator in the city of Atlanta. We raised the minimum wage for our city employees to $15 an hour. We have invested nearly $250 million of public money into affordable housing and workforce housing, some of it just in the shadows of where we stand. With just 832 votes, these reforms were allowed to take shape in the crown jewel of the South. And what I know is that on tomorrow, across this state, the margins will be just as slim. In what I call my Biden book, a journal I kept over the course of the campaign, I wrote in June of last year, I've endorsed Joe Biden and I feel very vulnerable right now. I felt vulnerable because I knew I would have to look you in your eyes, Atlanta, and tell you why I put it all on the line to stand by Joe Biden. But when I met Joe Biden last summer, just a few miles from here, I told him of the work that we were doing in Atlanta, and he asked me, how could he help us do more? When he drafted his criminal justice and affordable housing policies, he sent them to us in Atlanta to ask if he was doing enough. This man, Joe Biden, who stood beside President Barack Obama for 8 years, did not have to ask for our input, but he did, Atlanta. because he remembered our conversations and what our work would mean to our communities. So while I may have felt vulnerable over a year ago, I stand here feeling victorious today, Georgia. Because I'm reminded that those who would have undone the progress made by our city did not prosper because we didn't leave a single vote on the table and we didn't take any vote for granted. And I know we won't do it on tomorrow either. In the words of Sonia Sanchez, this is not a small voice you hear. This is a large voice coming out of these cities. This is the voice of Latanya, Khadisha, Shanika. This is the voice of Anton, Daryl, Shaquille. And I add today, this is the voice of Raphael. This is the voice of John. This is the voice of Lucy and Nakima and Carolyn and soon-to-be Vice President Kamala. This is the voice of a mayor named Keisha because we showed up to vote. We faced what seemed like insurmountable odds just 3 years ago in Atlanta, and we made it over. By using our votes as our voice, we will use our collective strength to bend that moral arc of America in favor of those who've long been forgotten and ignored. But we can only do that by electing leaders who keep our communities on their minds and in their hearts. Leaders like Lucy Macbeth, Carolyn Bordeaux, John Ossoff, and Raphael Warnock. We have a chance to expand our House majority, and if we show up and show out, we can also send 2 Democrats from Georgia to flip the Senate and take the majority there as well. I have an optimism, Georgia, that says we will get this one right, and we will make history, because we know Joe, Georgia, and most importantly, Joe knows us. Now let's go show America what we already know in Atlanta, and that's that we influence everything. In the same way our forefathers changed the course of history during the Civil Rights Movement, and they stood in lines across this nation to save the soul of America, we will do our part for our children's children and cast our votes on tomorrow. The generations are counting on us to get this right. Let's go, Georgia. Thank you.
Representing here tonight. Hold on.
I keep letting you back in. How can I explain myself? You said you cared for me better.
Louisiana. Murder on the beat. Something for y'all to cut up to, you know? Yeah. Everybody get your roll on. I know shorty and she doesn't want no slow song. Had a man last year, life goes on. Haven't let the thing loose, girl, in so long. You been inside, know you like to lay low. I've been peeping what you bringing to the table. Working hard, girl, everything paid for. First, last phone bill, car, no cable. With your phone out, gotta hit them angles. With your phone out, snapping like you Fable. And you showing off, but it's alright. And you showing off, but it's alright. It's a short life, yeah. That's a real one in your reflection. Without a follow, without a mention. You really piping up on these. You gotta be nice for what to these. I understand.
We all love us true and through, and though we made it through the
M-I, cricket letter, ain't no one better. And when I'm on the microphone, you best to wear your sweater, cause I'm cooler than the polar bear's toenails. Oh hell, there he go again, talking that shit. Bend corners like I was a curve, I struck a nerve, and now you about to see the southern player serve. I heard it's not where you from, but where you pay rent. Then I heard it's not what you make, but how much you spend. You got me bent like elbows, amongst other things, but I'm not worried, cause when we set up in the party like I'm out, you scurry. So go get your shine box and your sack of nickels. It tickles to see you try to be like Mr. Pickles. Daddy Fat Sacks, B-I-G-B-O-I is that same other to them knuckles to your eye. And I try to warn you not to test, but you don't listen. Giving a shout out to my Uncle Donnell, locked up in prison.
Now throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. And if you like fish and grits and all that pimp shit, everybody let me hear you say, oh yeah, yeah. Now throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. And if you like fish and grits and all that pimp shit, everybody let me hear you say, oh yeah, yeah.
Now, my oral illustration be like stimulation to the female gender. Ain't nothing better, let me know when it's to enter. If not, I wait because the future of the world depends on if or if not the child we raise gon' have that syndrome. Or will it know to beat the odds regardless of its skin tone? Or will it feel that if in tune it just might get picked on? Or will it give a about what others say and get gone? The alienators cause we different, keep your hand to the sky. Like sounds of blackness when I practice what I preach and don't lie. I be the baker and the maker of the piece of my pie. Now breaker tenfold, can I get some reply? Now everybody say,
throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. And if you like fish and grits and all that pimp shit, everybody let me hear you say, oh yeah, yeah. Now throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. And if you like fish and grits and all that pimp shit, everybody let me hear you say, oh yeah, yeah.
Every day I sit while my be in school, thinking about the second album at the dungeon, shooting pool like ES to the PN, cause we just to the be in the zone. Honey, I'm home, but I'm not married, carried a lot of problems round, being frustrated. And now I'm sitting at the end of the month, I just made it like you made the B team. And like your daddy's wife, you making a coffee. You heard the H-E-L-E, and so back the hell up off.
Shh, softly, as if I play piano in the dark. Found a way to channel my anger, not to involve. The world's a stage and everybody got to play their part. God works in mysterious ways, so when he starts the job of speaking through us, we be so sincere with this here. No drugs or alcohol, so I can get the signal clear as day. Put my Glock away, I got a stronger weapon that never runs out of ammunition, so I'm ready for war, okay?
Throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. And if you like fish and grits and all that pimp shit, everybody let me hear you say, oh yeah, yeah. Now throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. And if you like fish and grits and all that pimp shit, everybody let me hear you say, oh yeah, yeah.
Girl, you're working with some flash, yeah. Get bad, yeah. Make a fella spend the cash, yeah. It's bad, yeah. Girl, you're working with some flash, yeah. Get bad, yeah. Make a fella spend the bag, yeah. It's cash, yeah. Girl, you made it, you made it. Oh yeah, you made it, you made it. Baby girl, you made it, you made it. Oh yeah, you made it, you made it. It's been a long time coming. All these blessings rolling in, I ain't even see them coming. Too hard, I've been going too hard now. They say I need a vacation, say I need to slow down. And I ain't trying to slow down. Pretty face with a bad ass.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Grammy Award-winning artist, Monica.
How y'all doing? How y'all feeling? Make some noise real quick. Show them how Georgia does it. I'm so excited to be here. Number one, this is my home state. I was born in Atlanta, Georgia, resided in College Park, Riverdale area all my life. And you know, so many pillars of strength were born here. They marched here. They fought here, which has allowed us the ability to do what we need to do tomorrow, and that is vote. Do you all understand what I'm saying? We cannot take for granted the opportunity that is given, and we have to vote like our life depends on it, because it actually does. What we want for our children, what we want for the elderly. I always explain to people that one of the misconceptions is that it's okay to vote for yourself only. We have to vote for our veterans. We have to vote for our elderly. We have to vote for our children.
We have to vote for the people that are not even born, because as you see, the state of the world right now has affected generations young and old. How many of you guys have been encouraging people to get out and vote? You know, the Biden-Harris administration has spoken to a lot of things that are important to my heart, and when you vote for those that you believe can speak for you, because our voice can only be heard when we step up to these polls. And I think a lot of the young people don't understand the power that they hold in voting, the power that they hold in being present. And the work is not going to be over after tomorrow. It is just the beginning, but we must get there, right? So I want to say to each of you, encourage someone that may not understand the things that you understand. And in layman's terms, we can determine what our future is like if we are present and there right now. So I want to hear y'all say, be there for Biden-Harris. Now, it is something very special that is about to happen for everyone that is here right now today. It is something very special. It's monumental. It's historical. But we have to make sure we share our message. A lot of people may not be tuned in. So even when you leave this parking lot, make sure you share that message. One more time, be there for Biden-Harris. Atlanta, make some noise. Wait a minute. Atlanta, make some noise. There are going to be some very special people that come up after me, but I want to say thank you to everybody in this city that has been forcing our young to listen. It's really been a plight of mine to really get them to understand what it is that we can do if we all come together. And our final opportunity is tomorrow. We only have a few hours. Remind them to vote like their life depends on it, because it does. God bless y'all. And from the bottom of my heart, I'm in the walk, in the race, in the marathon with you. One more time, be there. Biden-Harris. God bless y'all from the bottom of my heart.
Didn't wanna say yes, pretty your reaction. I knew it was wrong for feeling this way, especially the thought of giving in on the first date. Couldn't let go, it stayed on my mind. At the end of the night, I had to decide. I was thinking I should make a move, but I won't. I should. Probably thinking something is wrong, knowing if I knew that it won't be right. I don't get down on the first night. I should make a move, but I won't. I know you're probably thinking something is wrong, knowing if I do that it won't be right. I wanna get down, but not the first night. Chilling, watching your TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome musical artist Yellow Pain.
What's going on? Let's get it.
I know you waited for this one.
Yellow!
nobody care about us.
And that's why I don't vote. Voted for Obama back in 2012. I remember that's when I had hope. He was saying, yes, we can. And everybody got less food stamps. And when I turned 21, I was still broke. I'd never vote again. I don't think I ever had a president make my life better. Did it all on my own. Ain't no politician ever do a nice gesture. I don't even know the mayor's name. I ain't never seen her one time ever. Tell me how she gonna help the city. What I'm supposed to do, write letters. What I'm supposed to do, blame Trump. He ain't never really gave a... Ain't nobody raised minimum wage. None of these jobs pay enough. I think they just want to keep us broke, because they ain't putting nothing in place for us. This how all my people feel, but we gotta learn. We complain enough. Let me change it up. Everything I just said, everybody I know think the same way. See, they don't want to see us vote, and we never do, so we see the same thing. But all our votes really do count, and they'll never really let it show. So now I'm finna break it down, because if I don't, you would probably never know. First thing first, you know back in middle school when they told us there was 3 branches of the government, we forgot it when we got older. It's the judicial, the legislative, and executive. But all we know is the executive. That's the mayor or the governor and the president. Now none of them 3 people make no laws, they just be checking them. The laws come to their desk and all they do is say no or yes to it. So when the news stations try to tell us that Barack Obama couldn't put us on, we was all salty at Obama when it was the Congress members all along. We gotta focus on the legislative branch. Yeah, they the ones that make the law. Yeah, they the ones write how much food stamp money you get on the card. But when people that wanted to help us wanted a job, I know they probably lost. Cause we ain't even know their name, we ain't know their face, we ain't know it all. So the Congress or the State House, that's legislative, they make laws. So what we want from the president is what they do. Okay, y'all? See, they election every 2 years, but we don't ever even go to those. The Congress, they can raise minimum wage, but we ain't even really know it though. So you know how back in 08, when we all voted for Obama, we was all supposed to go back in 2010 and vote for the Congress. Cause they the ones make child support laws. They the ones choose if your kids at school get to eat steak or corn dogs. The State House make the court calls. So if the country failed, then you can't say it's them, it's your fault. Cause y'all ain't know to vote for Congress members that was for y'all. And they don't gotta leave after 4 years and we just let them sit. See, they don't wanna tell you this, they want you to focus on the president. Now the 3rd branch is the judicial, that's judges. They the reason why John Crawford and Trayvon ain't had justice. So when Meek Mill got locked up just for popping willies, we blame the judge and not the city when they let her get voted in. Cause they ain't know who to vote against. Imagine life on the other side. Roads better, schools better, everybody get their license back, grocery store food better, custody of your kids back, homeless people get new shelters. If we gonna fix the U.S., we gotta start with them 2 letters. Me and you, somebody told us that the government wanna keep us broke, but the only reason why those people in the government is because we ain't vote. And I ain't talking about the president, I'm talking about the ones we ain't know. See, they was gonna try to keep it low, but it's gonna hurt them when they see the polls. You feel me? We gotta make sure we educated on all levels of the government. Let me hear you say, my vote will count. My vote will count. Period. I appreciate y'all.
The street executives.
One, two, 1, 2.
Yeah. I'm begging you, please come home. No one even begs anymore.
All right, Atlanta, Georgia. Y'all ready for some more hometown love? We're going to take it to the South Side right now. I need you to give it up for your own Grammy Award-winning South Side Atlanta's own. He goes by the name of 2 Chainz. Y'all give it up for 2 Chainz right now, please. Turn the mic on. Turn me up a little bit.
Let's shake your...
If you went to a HBCU, put your hands up right now. You got his microphone?
Let's shake your...
The Real University, the So Help Me God album is on the way.
Let's shake your money maker. Don't let that money maker. Shake that money maker. Don't let that money make it. Oh, shake your money maker. Don't let that money make it. Shake that money maker. Don't let that money make it. Let go.
Yeah. How y'all doing? I said, how y'all doing? I want to give a shout out to ATL. I want to give a shout out to the beautiful people out in the crowd that came out here today. I'm excited about tomorrow. I'm excited about change. We all know that the stakes are high. This next election is so many things that's just unanswered. We trying to figure out COVID. We trying to figure out, social inequalities, women's rights. You know what I mean? So many things we're trying to tackle. I think this next administration that I support, which is Biden-Harris, they offer something different. I speak on being different. I speak on embracing being different. And without further ado, I'm different. Who different? Hands up.
Hands up.
Hands up.
Hands up.
Okay, one, two, three. Who different?
I'm different, yeah, I'm different.
Who different?
I'm different, yeah, I'm different.
Let's vote.
I'm different, yeah, I'm different.
Let's vote.
Pull up to the scene with my ceiling missing. Pull up to the scene with my ceiling missing. Pull up to the scene with my ceiling missing. Pull up to the scene with my ceiling missing. Middle finger up to my competition.
Hey. I'm different.
Yeah, I'm different.
Who different?
I'm different. Yeah, I'm different.
We trying to warm
I'm
up out here.
different. Yeah, I'm different. Pull up to the scene with my ceiling missing.
Pull up to the scene with my roof gone.
Gone.
When I leave the scene, baby, my boot gone.
Gone.
And you know I vote like a
2 Chainz, but I got me a, hey.
Everything hot, skip lukewarm.
True.
Tell Shawty bust it, Uncle Luke.
What else?
I got a present for a present and a gift.
Rapping.
I don't feel good, but my trigger
Happy.
better happy. But I wish you had me, and I wish I would like a kitchen cabinet. And me and you are cut from a different fabric. I hit it so good, it's a bad habit. Hey, girl, sit down, you got a bad
What
habit.
else?
Gave her a wrong number and a bad
What
habit.
else?
You ain't going nowhere like a bad nabby.
True.
But so big, I told her, look.
Say look.
Then I put her on the crap mat.
Yeah.
I'm so
Addict.
Yeah.
I am so hot like a addict.
I'm different.
Yeah, I'm different.
Who different?
I'm different. Yeah, I'm different.
Let's vote.
I'm different. Yeah, I'm different.
Hands up.
Pull up to the scene with my ceiling
let's
missing.
vote.
Pull up to the scene with my ceiling
Let's
missing.
vote.
Pull up to the scene with my ceiling
Let's
missing.
vote.
Pull up to the scene with my ceiling missing. Middle finger up to my competition.
Hey.
I'm different. Yeah, I'm
Hands up if you
different.
different.
I'm different. Yeah,
Everybody,
I'm different.
hands up.
I'm different. Yeah, I'm different.
I think that's good, 2 Chainz.
All right.
I appreciate y'all. Blow your horns for Biden and Harris. Blow your horns.
The street executives.
Sud.
I've been moving calm, don't start no trouble with me. Trying to keep it peaceful is a struggle for me. Don't pull up at 6 a.m. to cuddle with me. You know how I like it when you loving on me. I don't wanna die for them to miss me. Yes, I see the things that they wishing on me. Hope I got some brothers that outlive me. They gon' tell the story. I make sure that Northside eat. And still, bad things. It's a lot of bad things that they wish and they wish and they wish and they wish and they wishing on me. Bad things. It's a lot of bad things that they wish and they wish and they wish and they wish and they wishing on me. Yeah.
Think it's a game.
I came up from nothing, you can't tell me. Yeah, did it on my own, check out my neck, check out my wrist, yeah.
I swear I ain't never expected it to be like this. Now I'm getting rich, I swear every day we lit.
Yeah, every day we lit, yeah. You can't tell me, yeah. Remember I was broke, yeah. Now I'm getting rich, yeah.
Yeah, when you diamond colder than a boot, then you know you lit. When you quick to take a, then you know you lit.
Every day we lit, yeah. Every day we lit, yeah. Every day we lit, yeah. Every day we lit, yeah.
Every day we lit, every day we lit, every day we lit, yeah. Every day we lit. Can't wait to get that vodka run, put it on my arm. Just counted the 50 with my mom. The ball done. All my car came from. My chain glowing, I ain't going, man. Look where we came from. All your bangles got my name on it. She want me to put my name on it. I got the hottest 16, one of the best you ever seen. But she like it when I sang on it.
I came up from nothing, you can't tell me. Yeah, did it on my own, check out my neck, check out my wrist, yeah.
I swear I ain't never expected it to be like this. Now I'm getting rich, I swear every day we lit.
Yeah, every day we lit, yeah. You can't tell me, yeah. Remember I was broke, now I'm getting rich, yeah.
Yeah, when you diamond colder than a boot, then you know you lit. When you quick to take a, then you know you lit, lit, lit.
Called the first one savage, mold my mood, that's what it was. 2016 we was running around, beat up in the club. I know she around for the money, but act like she loyal, I don't for the love. I'm so rich, get bored, might wake up, buy me a car just cause. This is hard cause she spent the 5, my it cost me a dub. All my got BBLs, all my got blood. I ain't with the rap beef, Draco, pedophile, all my arts get touched. We ain't never ran off on no bar, but we still be hopping out cuss. Running, 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 running. I leave by my cars. Running, 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 running. All my ops be running, 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 running. Wipe this nose, it was running, 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 running. Savage never did no.
Cash on me, like I hit the lottery. Girl, watch on how they follow me. Wait, honey's blue, yeah, I got them all on me. Go, 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 let's go. Proud of shoe, yeah, I keep a style on me. Pretty freaks, make them pile on me. I swear, rat party, I got 30 thou on me right now. Go, 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 let's go. To my cake, all these on a piece. 10 rats, I threw 10 on top my teeth. Diamond choke, VVS, I can't breathe. Go, 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 let's go. Saint Laurent, Ma Meniere, Givenchy. Gucci goggles, Gucci buckle, Gucci skis. You gon' cut there, we know they're free. Go, 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 let's go. Cash on me, like I hit the lottery. Trip, watch on how they follow me. Wait. Honey's blue, yeah, I got them all on me. Go, 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 let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
You make me happy. This you can bear. You split right beside me. Yeah.
There's no mistaking, I'm clearly taken by the simple mere thought of you. This stuff is starting now. This stuff is starting now. This stuff is starting now. My eyes roll in my head. I toss and turn in my bed. In the morning when I think about you. Yes, I do. Simply put, you're the reason why. Even though I'm real shy, I attempt to look my best for you. Indeed, I do. Just for you.
I feel the master. I feel him. Y'all ready? They ready? Well, come on. Well, come on.
ATL.
They ready? We ready? We ready? Come on. We ready? We ready?
Y'all ready? Get ready from a safe distance. Let's go.
Man, I got this right. My head up to my
Left, right,
You know I'm fucking
left, right.
But man, I got this way. Man, I got this way. My head up to my back. You know I'm fucking tight. But man, I got this way. I swear when I serve, now I be surfing swag. I'm on hypnotic, polo on my body. Got a bad girl beside me.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Reverend Raphael Warnock.
I'm so glad that he let me try again. 'Cause my last time on earth I lived the whole world of sin. I'm so glad that I know more than I knew then. Gonna keep on trying till I reach my highest ground.
Well, hello, everybody. Hello, Georgia. I love you too. Hello, President Obama. Welcome to Battleground, Georgia. Listen, it's just one day before the most important election of our lifetime. And of all the places President Barack Obama could be, he's right here. Yesterday, the next Vice President of the United States of America, Kamala Harris, was here. A few days before that, the next President of the United States of America, Joe Biden, was here. And all of you are here. Give yourselves a round of applause. We are all here because this is the moment and this is the place. Are you ready?
There is something special happening in this state. I can feel it. There's energy on the ground. There's hope on the horizon. There's change in the air. Can you feel it? The people are rising up to claim the best in the American spirit, the sacred covenant we have with one another as an American people, e pluribus unum, out of many, one. We are one people. We are one America. And here's what we've got to do. We've got to fight hard because the future of our nation depends on it. We've got to push back against the demagogues of hatred and bigotry and fear. Beware of folk who try to frighten you into re-electing them. The truth is, that's right, we ain't scared. The truth is, they cannot lead us, and so they're trying to divide us. They have no vision, so they traffic in division. We need visionary leadership. We need moral leadership. We need competent, caring, and compassionate leadership. We need Joe Biden. And we need a graduate of an HBCU, Kamala Harris. And we need Raphael Warnock. And we need John Ossoff. And so tell all of your friends, if you haven't voted, you got to show up and vote. As John Lewis, my late and beloved parishioner, used to say, we've got to vote like we've never voted before. Now, I know that most of you, if not all of you, have already voted, but make sure everybody in your circle votes. Make sure your family members vote. Make sure your friends vote. If you're single and somebody asks you for your phone number, tell them I don't date people who don't vote. This is serious business. This has been a long and painful period, but we are about to write a new chapter in the American spirit, in the American story. And I'm proud just to be a part of it, because my story is a part of the American story. Can I tell you my story? I'm Raphael Warnock, a candidate in the special election for the United States Senate. Georgia is the only state with 2 Senate races up for grabs. My friend John Ossoff is running for one. He is a crusader against corruption. We must elect him. I'm running in the other seat. I'm one of 21 people in my race. 21 names on the ballot, listed alphabetically. My last name is Warnock, so I'm near the bottom. The name next to the last name, I'm near the bottom. But that's all right, because that's where I was born. I was born near the bottom, yet I'm standing on this stage running for the United States Senate. It is a testament to the promise of America and the grace of an almighty God. Born in poverty, I was raised in the public housing projects of Savannah, Georgia. We were poor, but I feel like I hit the jackpot because I had parents who loved and nurtured me. I had a village that protected me and believed in me. I'm one of 12 children. Obviously, my parents, both preachers, read the Bible and took it rather seriously. Be fruitful and multiply. I'm number 11 out of 12, and the first college graduate in my family. I often say that I went to Morehouse College on a full faith scholarship. That means I didn't have enough money for the first semester. But I went on to earn my degree and went on to earn a PhD degree. And 15 years ago, I became the pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church, spiritual home of Martin Luther King Jr. and the great John Lewis. Now, that took a lot of grit, hard work, determination, personal responsibility, yes, but that alone did not get me there. Somebody gave me a Pell Grant. Somebody gave me some low-interest student loans. In other words, I had a path to a prosperous and more productive life. We must vote tomorrow because it's harder now for children growing up in urban centers in Atlanta and in disaffected rural communities in North Georgia than it was for me. We must vote tomorrow because student loans have now surpassed credit card debt and auto loans. Too many of our children have a mortgage before they have a mortgage. We have to vote for all of our young people. And so I'm running because as a pastor who has stood up time and time again, sometimes in acts of civil disobedience, trying to get our elected leaders to expand Medicaid. I understand that health care is a human right, and that it is certainly something that the richest nation in the world can provide to all of its citizens, and Georgia deserves a senator who believes that health care is a human right. We should have recognized long ago that we need all of our neighbors covered. But now that we are dealing with a deadly airborne disease, my neighbor coughs, and that potentially has implications for me. I should want that person covered. I should want their children to have access to a good quality education. I should want to make sure that their parents can retire with dignity. In other words, we're tied in a single garment of destiny. The other day I was down in a small town in southwest Georgia where their nearest hospital had just closed. Devastating rural health care, jobs gone away, people devastated while politicians are playing games. And a young man stood up in the town hall and he said, "Reverend, I wanted to meet you because I've heard about the work you've been doing in criminal justice reform." He said, "When I was 18 years old, I went to prison, but I got myself together. I learned the lessons. I've been out of prison now for 15 years. I'm a popular DJ in the community. I've been telling other folk to vote, and they didn't know that I was telling them to vote because although I've been out for 15 years, I haven't been able to vote." Because he lives in a state where we keep people on probation for a long time. And we use all of these tools to keep some people from being able to vote. He said, "But after 15 long years and a hard fight, I finally got my franchise back, and I can't wait to vote for you." And so, my beloved, as I close, and nobody believes the preacher when he says, "As I close," we must stand up and we must vote for him. And we must vote for others like him. We must vote for the people we now call essential workers, but we don't pay them an essential wage. We don't provide for them essential benefits. We must vote for our seniors who have to choose between buying food and buying prescription drugs. We must vote for all of our children because none of our children are safe until all of our children are safe. We must vote because your vote is your voice, and your voice is your human dignity. We must vote because a vote is a kind of prayer about the kind of world that you want to live in, and prayer is stronger when we pray together. So vote together and pray together and stay together and struggle together and work together, and together we win. God bless you, Georgia. God bless America. Tomorrow we win.
Two chains.
Top down on the dime like I'm used to it. Brainy make it home like I'm used to it. Brainy make it home like I used to it. Brainy make it home like I'm used to it. Top down on the dime like I'm used to it. Brainy make it home like I used to it. Brainy make it home like I used to it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome John Ossoff.
Hello, Atlanta. Can y'all hear me in the back? Thank you for being here on this beautiful day. It is truly an honor to run alongside my friend, a moral leader for our state and for our country. Give it up again for Reverend Raphael Warnock, y'all. And what an honor for all of us today here in Georgia to be joined by the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama. President Obama is here with us today because Georgia, in the midst of this terrible crisis, the eyes of the nation are on us. And the message today is simple. The only way out of this mess, y'all, is to vote like we've never voted before. We're living through a health and economic crisis unlike anything we've seen in our lifetimes. The American people are suffering. This pandemic has taken nearly 250,000 American lives. Millions have lost their jobs. Our daily lives have been upturned. And at a moment when we need steady, competent leadership, we're getting nothing but chaos, incompetence, deception, and division. Right now, as we speak, this pandemic continues to spiral out of control. We will only defeat this virus by electing competent leaders who care about our health, who can unite our country to rise to this moment, who will empower doctors and scientists to guide us out of this health emergency. It didn't have to be this way. It didn't have to be this way. But President Trump and Senator David Perdue haven't just failed us. They've lied to us every step of the way. Senator Perdue told us COVID-19 was no deadlier than the flu. He told us this virus would have little impact on our economy. He knew better. He was getting private briefings in Washington. And while he lied to us and downplayed this pandemic, he was busy taking care of himself and his own stock portfolio. Meanwhile, Senator Perdue and President Trump have silenced, suppressed, and attacked the very medical experts whose expertise we need to contain this pandemic. Georgia, hundreds of thousands of our fellow Americans Neighbors, friends, parents, and grandparents are at risk if we don't vote tomorrow to make a change and elect people who care about our health more than they care about themselves. Look, what we want, what we need, what we deserve, it's not that complicated. The first exposure I ever had to anything like public service was working for Congressman John Lewis. May he rest in peace. Congressman Lewis taught me about what he called the beloved community, a place where we recognize that we're all rise or we fall together, y'all. The beloved community is a place where every one of us has access to affordable housing, affordable health care, education without debt, dignified work that pays a living wage, equal justice under the law, regardless of race and regardless of class. That's the beloved community. And we can build it. But to build it, we've got to vote. To build it, we need to elect brilliant, decent, compassionate leaders. Remember, not too long ago, we were led by a man who put our health, our prosperity, our interests ahead of his own. President Barack Obama served this nation for 8 years with conviction, with compassion, with competence, with integrity. President Obama recognized that we only rise to historic challenges such as this one when we come together, when we focus on what we have in common rather than what we have apart. President Obama recognized and helped us to see that America's journey is bigger and more ambitious than political parties or partisan rivalries. Georgia, it's up to us to elect leaders who will heal the wounds of these last 4 years, reunite this country, lead us out of this crisis, and build a stronger, healthier, more prosperous, and more just United States. And tomorrow is the last chance to make our voices heard. 55 years ago, Congressman John Lewis led a march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, and he had his skull cracked by a billy club for demanding the right to vote. And what we are seeing right now in Georgia is that whatever obstacles are put in our way, we are determined to exercise that sacred right, to participate in our democracy, to vote like our lives depend upon it, because they do. So I'm asking you, Georgia, honor Congressman Lewis' legacy. Take nothing for granted. Make a plan to vote tomorrow. Call your friends, your neighbors, your cousins, your colleagues, from Bankhead to Buckhead, from the coast to Columbus, from the mountains to the Florida line. Make a plan to vote. It's time to restore the soul of this nation. It's time to send David Perdue into retirement. It's time to send Carolyn Bordeaux to Congress, to re-elect Lucy McBath, to elect Senator Kamala Harris, the next Vice President of the United States, to elect Joe Biden to lead us out of this crisis in the White House. It's time to vote like we've never voted before. Thank you so much, Georgia. I love you.
Energy. I need your energy. This world is killing me. Light it up. If you feeling me, I feel. Light it up. If you feeling me, I feel. Light it up. If you feeling me, I feel. Light it up. If you feeling me, I feel. I need your energy. High life, high tide. Don't drown. Big breath.
take steps, stay cool. When I'm down, that vibe, that's right. On top, that high, I fly, skydive, high five, we won't die. See hope, see drive, see why. And my eyes, win big, win life. Take off, bye-bye, no slip. Black ice, they shoot, lit fly. Don't stop, must try. Energy, that's why I'm doing the most. In the middle of the road, I'm running the globe. I'm fighting for those that give everything to get back what they owe. So close, don't fold. Live bright, live bold. Kick back, get goals. Light it up for yours. I need your energy. I need your energy. This world is killing me. Light it up. If you feeling me, feel. 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 I need your energy. This what they want. This what they need. This what we on. Took it worldwide and brought it back home.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Temple Douglas.
Good afternoon, Atlanta. My name is Temple Douglas, and I am a sophomore at the University of Georgia. I was born and raised in Columbus, Georgia, and graduated from Hardaway High School. I was also a proud Girl Scout for many years, and part of being a Girl Scout means you have to take the Girl Scout promise. It's the promise to treat people around you and in our world with compassion. I don't know about you all, but I believe we all need more compassion, love, and kindness right now. And we need to have a leader in the White House that brings people together, not divides us. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will unite our country. They believe in making sure that all Americans from every walk of life have opportunities to succeed. And they believe in treating people with respect, love, and kindness. The hate, rhetoric, and lies coming out of the Trump administration scare me. It makes me worried for my future and the future of our country and community. The growing racial divide and tension has only been exacerbated by President Trump. But it is time for a change. When I was a little girl, I remember my father got involved in politics and started working on President Obama's campaign. I was only 8 years old at the time, but I was greatly inspired, and I knew history was being made. And all of my fellow young people that are fighting on the front lines for change are ready for that momentum to continue. I got to cast my vote early, and for the first time in a presidential election, for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And I am filled with so much hope about change for the future. There is so much at stake in this election, from women's rights to LGBTQ rights to climate change. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris know that young people are leading the way on the issues most important in this election. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris also understand that representation matters and will appoint cabinet members and justices that represent the diverse population in the United States, starting with the office of Vice President, with Madam Vice President Kamala Harris. We are truly in the battle for the soul of our nation, and we will win, but only if we continue to engage, mobilize, and empower our generation to vote tomorrow on Election Day. We have to vote as our lives depend on it, because they do. So everyone, please make a plan to vote tomorrow. Tell your family, your friends, and your neighbors, and even the person parked right by you right now. We have a real chance to finally flip Georgia blue. But that can only happen if we have the energy and enthusiasm from young people like us across the state to mobilize and get out the vote. And now, it is an honor to introduce the 44th President of the United States and one of my personal heroes, President Barack Obama.
Hello, Georgia. Can everybody please give Temple a big round of applause? That's the kind of young people that are going to lead the way. Oh, I am excited. Thank you for arranging for good weather. It is good to be back. I've got one word for you, Atlanta. Tomorrow. Tomorrow, after 4 years of failure, you have the power to change America. Tomorrow you can put an end to the politics that tries to divide a nation just to win an election, that tries to stoke conspiracy theories and fear at a time when we need competence and we need hope. Tomorrow is the most important election of our lifetimes, and you can deliver the change that we need. But you're going to have to vote. If you haven't dropped off your ballot yet, please do not wait any longer. If you voted already, help your friends and family find their polling places at iwillvote.com. Help them make a plan to vote tomorrow, because this election is going to take every single one of us. And right here in Georgia, you've got an even bigger power to deliver the change that we need. You can be a state that sends Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to the White House. I got a chance to campaign with Joe over the weekend, and it felt like the old days. For 8 years, he was the last one in the room whenever I faced a big decision. He made me a better president, and he's got the character and the experience to make us a better country. And he and Kamala are going to be in the fight, not for themselves, but for every single one of us. But if they are going to deliver the change we need, getting this pandemic under control, restarting our economy, protecting our health care, protecting our planet, reforming our criminal justice system, giving every young person an equal chance, then they're also going to need a Senate that actually cares about those things. So Georgia, not only can you put Joe and Kamala over the top, but you can be the state that gives us all a better chance, because you've also sent John Ossoff and Reverend Raphael Warnock to the United States Senate. Yeah, I didn't originally plan to come to Georgia. You know, you see all this gray hair I got? You know, it still looks good, you said? All right. I'll let Michelle know. But the reason I'm here, look, I thought after my last campaign in 2012, I thought, all right, you know, I'll campaign in 16, and then I'll just kind of go off and, you know, write my book and work on my golf game and spend a little more time with my wife. Things didn't work out the way we expected because we weren't focused. Each one of us didn't do everything we needed to do. And so in this election, when I got a call and said, look, Georgia could be the state. Georgia could be the place where we put this country back on track, and not just because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have a chance to win Georgia, but you've got the chance to flip 2 Senate seats. I said, well, I got to go. I got to come. I told Michelle, I'm sorry, baby. I got to go to Georgia. This is a big deal. You have 2 extraordinary candidates in John and the Reverend who deserve your vote. And let's face it, you've also got 2 senators who badly need to be replaced. Look, I served in the Senate. I remember when we used to get briefings in the Senate for threats, including the kinds of briefings that your 2 current senators got about COVID-19. They got briefed. You know, you go into this room and it's all top secret and you got to kind of close everything off, and you know, you can't take anything out of the briefing room because this is part of your responsibility as a public servant. And the point of these briefings is so that you can take quick action to protect the American people before it's too late. That's why the Senate gets these special briefings, to serve the interests of the people who have sent you to Washington, to serve their interests before your own. When I heard that your 2 senators here in Georgia, and understand, what I'm about to say now is not a partisan statement. I'd be just as hard if I heard a Democrat was doing this. Your 2 senators publicly were telling you that the virus would be no big deal. But behind closed doors, they were making a bunch of moves in the stock market to try to make sure their portfolios were protected instead of making sure you were protected. Man, that's shady. That ain't right. They downplayed the pandemic in public, and in private, they're trying to see if they can profit from it, both of them. Not just one of them, both of them. They're like Batman and Robin gone bad. It's like the dynamic duo of doing wrong. I don't know what they were thinking, but Georgia, I promise you, Georgia was definitely not on their mind. It was not. And what's the result of betraying the public's trust? 230,000 Americans are dead. More than 100,000 small businesses have closed. Almost 200,000 jobs are gone in Georgia alone. If President Trump and your senators had been focused on COVID from the beginning instead of their portfolios or their TV ratings, cases wouldn't be reaching new record highs across the country just this week. 9 months into the pandemic, America just had the single worst week of new cases. Think about that. All the people who voluntarily quarantined, all the folks who've been working at home, all the mothers and fathers who've been looking after their children at home, trying to keep everybody safe. And after all that, we saw the worst week because we had people like your 2 senators who were not taking it seriously. We had a president who was pretending it was just like a bad flu. And now Trump's chief of staff finally admits what we've known all along. He was quoted just a few days ago. He said, "We're not going to control the pandemic." Well, yeah, we noticed. You definitely are not. But you know what? Joe Biden and Kamala Harris can get on top of this pandemic. And if we've got 2 new senators from Georgia, we can have a government that's making that happen. What's Trump's closing argument right now? You know, last night on his COVID spreader tour, he's going around spreading COVID. He's like a carrier because he cares more about having big crowds than he does about keeping people safe. He told his supporters, don't tell anybody, but he's going to fire Dr. Fauci after the election. Don't boo. Vote. We had signs up a couple days ago, it was Halloween, and said had a ghost on there, said don't boo, vote. Come on. So just in case you were worried that Trump had been taking COVID too seriously, he's stated publicly he's going to fire the one person in the administration, a carryover, was also the president when I was in there, helped me deal with Ebola and H1N1, was one of the people who was at the front lines of dealing with HIV/AIDS, one of the world's leading experts on infectious disease, one of the few people in this administration who's been taking this seriously all along. And what did he say? His second-term plan is to fire that guy. I mean, they've already said they're not going to contain the pandemic. Now they want to fire the one person who could actually help them contain the pandemic. So, Georgia, if you think they've done a bad job at managing COVID so far, basically what they're telling you now is you ain't seen nothing yet. Trump's saying he might, in this election, he's been saying he might declare victory before all the votes have been counted. Well, that's just what he did on this virus. And how'd that turn out? Listen, America deserves better than this. Georgia, you deserve better than this. You really do. And here's the good news. Tomorrow you can choose something better. Tomorrow you can send John Ossoff and Reverend Warnock to the United States Senate. And they can team up with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and get on top of this crisis. Yes, we can. Look. Let me just in case you're unfamiliar with the track record of the 2 outstanding candidates for Senate that you've heard from. John Ossoff's life has prepared him to serve as your senator. He learned about public service from my dear friend, one of my lifelong heroes, John Lewis. He's dedicated his career to fighting injustice. He knows we need a new Voting Rights Act that makes sure every Georgian is treated equally under the law, that makes sure every Georgian can exercise the right to vote that people like John Lewis bled for. John Ossoff runs a company that investigates crime and corruption around the world, which sounds like something we could use in Washington right now. That's like kryptonite to Donald Trump and those corporate lobbyists that he's all put in his cabinet. It's like water on the Wicked Witch. You remember? John's wife, Alicia, is a doctor. She delivers babies. And like so many doctors who've been risking their lives to save others, so many nurses and healthcare workers on the front lines, Alicia's been putting herself at risk. So you know that John's not going to go around accusing doctors of trying to profit from the pandemic. You heard that's what Trump said, right? He said, well, doctors are exaggerating this because they just want to make more money. These doctors, these nurses, these healthcare workers, they are in there, they are exposing themselves to this disease. They are more at risk than anybody. And John Ossoff understands that because he's seeing it in his own family. He's going to listen to the experts and work with Joe Biden to get this pandemic under control, with a plan to make testing and vaccines free for every American, and make sure our frontline heroes never have to ask other countries for the equipment they need, because it's going to be here, right there, ready for American workers. And you know the other thing John's going to do is he's going to protect your health care. There have been more than 9 million cases of COVID-19 in America. And even for folks who get better, your insurer could still consider COVID-19 a pre-existing condition, which means you might not be able to get insurance next time if the protections that we put in place 10 years ago with the Affordable Care Act were eliminated. Republicans love to say right before an election they're going to protect your pre-existing conditions. Listen, with the Affordable Care Act, Joe Biden and I actually did it 10 years ago. Those protections are already in place. We required insurers to cover your pre-existing conditions. And since then, Republicans have tried to repeal or undermine the Affordable Care Act more than 60 times. They've promised, don't worry, after we repeal it, we're going to replace it with a really wonderful plan. Every 2 weeks for 10 years, they've been promising a new plan. Have you seen this new plan? I haven't either. Nobody's seen it. You know why? Because they don't have a new plan. They've just attacked the Affordable Care Act at every turn, and in the process, driven up costs, driven up the uninsured. Now they're in the Supreme Court trying to get the Supreme Court to take your health care away in the middle of a pandemic. Why would you do that? Just to spite me. Why in the middle of a pandemic would you offer nothing but empty promises and try to kick people off their health care? Georgia, something got to go. It's either your senators or your health care. If I were you, I'd choose your health care. Get rid of the senators who are trying to take it away. You know your senators aren't going to stand up to protect it. They love to talk tough like President Trump. But one of the things they have in common with him is when you start calling them out, they cut and run. You saw President Trump, he's in the middle of a 60 Minutes interview. He just walked out. It's too tough. He quit in the middle of an interview. Somebody's asking him, well, what are you going to do in your second term? Oh, that's too tough. I'm leaving. And then you saw it again last week when John Ossoff called out Senator Perdue on health care in their debate. Perdue was like one of those chickens. I would have felt bad for the guy if he hadn't voted 4 times to take away your pre-existing conditions protections. 4 times he voted against it. They were supposed to have another debate last night. Perdue chickened out, pulled out. The scariest Halloween costume he saw this year was John Ossoff in a debate. But let me tell you what's really scary, Georgia. Republicans threatening to end pre-existing conditions protections for 100 million people in the middle of a pandemic. That is scary. And you have the power to do something about it. John Ossoff and Joe Biden will protect your health care. They will expand Medicare. They will make insurance more affordable for everyone. And so will Reverend Raphael Warnock. Let me talk about the good Reverend right now. I won't preach, but I will offer testimony. This is a man who preaches at Ebenezer Baptist Church in the pulpit of its great pastor, Dr. King. He's read the Gospels, and they might not have known about pre-existing conditions back then, but the Reverend will tell you Jesus spent time healing the sick. caring for the poor. And when Georgia Republicans fought against expanding Medicaid to cover hundreds of thousands of your fellow Georgians, Reverend Warnock followed the example of John Lewis and got himself arrested, getting into good trouble. Reverend Warnock's life prepared him to live in service to others. He doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk. Here's a man who grew up in public housing in Savannah with 11 brothers and sisters. That's a lot of brothers and sisters. That taught him a little bit about working together, about looking out for others, about sharing. His mom spent her summers as a young woman picking cotton and tobacco. His dad was a veteran and a small businessman who preached on Sundays, so he knows about the power of opportunity and the God-given right to dignity and decent wages for working people. Reverend Warnock earned his degree at Morehouse, a Morehouse man. But he did it with the help of Pell Grants and student loans, so you know he's going to fight for every single young person who dreams of a college education but doesn't know how he or she's going to pay for next semester's classes. He's been there. Last time I saw Reverend in person was at Ebenezer Baptist Church for the memorial service for John Lewis. And he possesses the moral courage John did to question right and wrong and call things for what they are. And he's got the moral clarity to shine a spotlight on injustice and make the powers that be uncomfortable. And we need some folks who will shake things up a little bit. And he's going to lead us in Washington to overcome our own complacency and our own fears and our own prejudices to become better, truer versions of ourselves. That's who he is. And that's who we all need to be. Look, we got 1 day left. I've been making a lot of arguments out there. Some of them should be obvious. And yet I know that there's still people out there who aren't voting. So I want to talk to you right now, the people of Georgia right now who've decided not to vote. Maybe you don't like who's in the White House right now, but you just lost faith in government. You're frustrated. You don't think government makes a difference. Maybe you're troubled by what the two current senators in Georgia have done, but you're not really confident or certain about how much of a difference it'll make in your lives. And I understand that. Government's not perfect. Government doesn't solve every problem. We've got a long legacy in this country of hardship and prejudice and people who are powerful and rich taking advantage of folks who aren't. And we have a history right here in Georgia that John Lewis fought and others fought. And sometimes I can get down. Michelle can get down. Sometimes we're at a dinner table, we're just like, Lord, why are we still fighting some of these battles? I thought we settled some of these arguments. I thought we had turned a corner. Why are we still hearing people praise folks who think that the color of your skin determines your status? Why are we still acting as if women shouldn't be treated the same as men and paid the same for doing the same work? Why are we having these old arguments? I thought these were done. It can be discouraging sometimes. And you drive through some neighborhoods in Atlanta or Chicago or Washington, D.C., or you go out in some rural areas in some small towns and you think, you know what? Folks are still having a hard time and some of the things that should have been fixed haven't been fixed, and you get discouraged. I I get it. Even as President of the United States, there were times where I thought, man, I thought I could get this done or that done, and somehow the special interests and the lobbyists and others are blocking it and making it hard, and you get frustrated. I get it. But you know what? Whenever I get in one of those moods, I just remind myself that when we work together, when we put in a little bit of effort, things may not get perfect, but they do get better. When John Lewis started marching across that bridge, it didn't eliminate racism and bigotry in America, but it started something that got the Voting Rights Act passed. And it made things better. I didn't get everything done that I wanted to get done when I was president, but I could say when I look back at the end of 8 years, you know what? The country's better off now than it was when I took office. 20-some million people have health care that didn't have it before. That's a good thing. Children that were in poverty have been lifted up out of poverty. Not all of them, but some of them. That's a good thing. Maybe this next generation came up and saw that, you know, black and white can work together, that we don't have to be at odds, that we can treat each other with dignity and respect, that we don't have to be scared of each other, but should reach out to each other. A president by himself can't solve every challenge in the economy. But if we elect people like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, if we elect Reverend Warnock and John Ossoff, who are focused on working people and getting you the help that you need, it can make a difference for thousands of people and 10,000 of people, 100, maybe a few million people might be better off. A president by himself can't eliminate all racial bias in our criminal justice system, but if we elect district attorneys and state's attorneys and sheriffs who are focused on equality and justice, it can make things better. John understood this. Dr. King understood this. Abraham Lincoln understood it. George Washington understood it. We knew, John, I remember talking to John Lewis right before he passed. And we talked about all these young people who would come out to start this wave of marches, nonviolent, peaceful protests all across the country. And we talked about how this younger generation, they don't have to choose between protest and politics. If we're going to translate our aspirations into laws and practices, we've got to engage in both. There's nothing un-American about protest. This country was founded on protesting against injustice. That's what the American Revolution was about. Now, John ran for office all those years and kept protesting even while he was in office because he understood they're two sides of the same coin. It's us acting on behalf of our highest aspirations, even though we know we won't get there. We're never going to get all the way to the promised land, but we can help lay the path for future generations to get there. That's what public service should be about. That's what citizenship should be about. That's what voting is about. Not making things perfect, but making things better. Laying that path, brick by brick, to a better future. Putting us on track so that a generation from now, 2 generations from now, 3 generations from now, we can look back and we can say, you know, that was a moment when we turned towards our better angels, toward our better impulses, where we started to pull together as a nation instead of being riven apart. And the fact that we don't get 100% of what we want is not a good reason not to vote. We got to keep at it. You know, typically just over 50% of us vote. Think about that. Almost half the people who are eligible typically do not vote. And yes, part of this is because folks make it hard to vote. Your governor right here in Georgia seems to make it his job to come up with ways to make it as hard as possible for some Georgians to vote. These folks sure are scared of folks voting, aren't they? Think about that. If you've decided you don't want to vote, don't you wonder why it is that the folks in power are so worried about you voting? There must be a reason why they try to make it hard for you to vote. It's because they know if you vote, things change. The answer is not to stay home, it's to turn out like never before and show them what's in your heart. Show them the spirit of community. Imagine if 60% of us voted. Imagine if 70% of us voted, not 100%, just 70%. Imagine January 20th when we swear in President Biden and Vice President Harris, and Reverend Warnock and John Ossoff are in the United States Senate. Imagine having leaders in office who have a plan to get us out of this mess and who care about working Americans and have a plan to help you start getting ahead, who believe in science and have a plan to protect this planet for our kids, who believe in racial equality and are willing to do the work to bring us closer to an America where no matter what you look like or where you come from or who you love or how much money you got, everybody's treated with dignity. Everybody's treated with respect. Everybody, if they're willing to work hard, has a chance to make it. Imagine having public officials who abide by the values our mamas and our grandmas and our grandpas taught us. Being honest, being responsible, working hard, looking after those who can't look after themselves, showing compassion, believing in justice. All that is possible. All that is within our reach. And the reason I know it is because I've seen it all across the country. Every time I've gotten discouraged over these last 4 years, whenever I've seen our worst impulses revealed, I've also seen America at its best. I've seen folks of every age and background look out for other people, packing cities and town squares so that families wouldn't be separated, rallying so that another classroom won't get shot up, proclaiming that we need to do something to make sure our kids won't grow up in an uninhabitable planet. We have seen healthcare workers risk their lives daily to save somebody else's loved ones. We've seen people contribute and volunteer, bring food to neighbors, help out the elderly who are alone, who are having an especially hard time right now. We've seen Americans of all races join together to declare in the face of injustice and brutality that Black lives matter. No more, but no less. That we don't want anybody feeling superior or better than anybody else. We just want everybody to treat each other with common decency and respect. That's all we want, just basic fairness, so that no child in this country should feel the continuing sting of racism and that they're judged by the content of their character. We've seen people march all across this country. You've seen towns where there are barely any black folks, and they still got folks marching with signs up because they believe that we can be better. Georgia, America's a good and decent place. We've just seen so much noise and so much nonsense and distraction. And we feed we've seen media companies and politicians make a business of making us hate each other because it drives clicks and drives eyeballs. And so sometimes it's hard to remember. But I'm asking you to remember what this country can be. Georgia's a better place than it used to be. There used to be a lot of violence and cruelty in this place. And it's a better place because some folks went out there and made sacrifices, black and white. And America, it's a better place than it used to be. But it can be better now. But you've got to do the work. It's all up to you now. I'm asking you in your ability to believe in John Ossoff and Reverend Warnock and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, but most importantly, your collective ability to get us out of these dark times and help us build back better. I'm asking you to believe in your ability to change America. We can't abandon the Americans who are hurting right now. We can't abandon the young people who aren't getting the education they deserve right now. We can't abandon those young people who are out there who inspired us this summer. We got to channel their activism into action. We can't just imagine a better future. We got to fight for it. If you haven't voted yet, go out and vote. It's not that much to ask. Go out there and vote. Do this basic thing that can make America better. Tomorrow, we can choose to protect health care for our families. Tomorrow, we can rebuild an economy that rewards working Americans and not just the wealthy of us. Tomorrow, we can elect leaders who reflect our best instincts and not our worst. Tomorrow, we can choose hope over fear and unity over division. The promise to change over the power of the status quo. And if we do, Georgia, if we vote like our lives depend on it, because they do, we will elect John Ossoff and Reverend Warnock to the United States Senate. We will send Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to the White House. And we will leave no doubt about who we are and what this country stands for. Honk if you're ready to go. Honk if you're fired up. Georgia, let's do this. Let's go out there and show that we believe. God bless you. God bless the United States of America.